Today we're talking about Notion. Notion is an all-in-one application that helps you get organized. Whether it's in your professional life or personal life, Notion can help you. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing about Notion or you've been thinking about getting into it, in this video I'm going to show you how you can get started. Let's get into it. Notion is one of those products that can be very intimidating because it's so powerful. Yet the beauty of Notion is it's as complicated as you want it to be, or is that simple as you want it to be. Now, when you hear things like databases, relational databases, rollups, formulas, it's easy to tune out what someone's trying to tell you. But if you hear note-taking, to-do lists, now that's something easy enough to grasp. Now, I've heard this before. I'm afraid of getting into Notion because I'm afraid that it's going to get too complicated and I'm going to just get lost or sucked into it instead of just getting something done. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can easily get started with Notion and really get into it as you expand. If you're new to Notion and are wondering, why do I need another app? Well, I'm always constantly asking myself, how can I bring things into Notion? In other words, Notion has allowed me to combine multiple apps and not need so many different apps. It's an all-in-one solution. I use Notion for planning all my YouTube videos and all my live streams. I use it as a note-taking app in both my personal and professional life. I'm also thinking about using it for other things in my personal development, such as a habit tracker, a personal expense tracker, etc. And best of all, it's cross-platform and cross-device. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the basics using it as a note-taking app, and then we're going to get into some more complicated things such as databases and create some dashboards and different views of this data. And in a later video, I'm going to go more into depth, some more advanced features concerning these databases as well. So let's get into a demo and let's start building some stuff out from scratch. Future Patrick here. As I'm editing this video, I realize it's getting really long, and I realize that some of you already know the basics of Notion and using the editor. So if you want to skip to the database portion, you can go to the timestamp here. And then if you want to go to the dashboards and views, go to the timestamp here. I'll mention it in this video as well, but if you want more advanced features, I'm going to do a video in the near future on some more advanced features such as relational databases, rollups, formulas, all those kind of things. So as soon as I get that video up, I'll put the link in the description below as well. When you first fire up Notion, you're presented with these default pages here, and you're given this Getting Started page. My advice to you is to read through this Getting Started page. It really gives you a good introduction on how to get started as far as the interface is concerned. But right now we're going to start with a new blank page here, our first page. Now to get started, you can either use an empty page, which we're going to do right now, or start with one of their templates. And there's a lot of different templates you can choose from, very, very good templates here. But we're going to start with an empty page. You can either click on the empty here or just click on the outside. And we're going to start with a blank page here. Now the Notion interface is broken up into different blocks. The basic block type is a text type. So we can just start typing away, right? And of course, within this block text, you can do different formatting things like such as bold, italicize, underline, etc. Right? So you can do all the basic things that you can use. Now to bring up the different basic blocks, you do the / and that'll bring you to a list of all the different pages, right? So if you already created a page within Notion, you can embed it within this page. Or we can do a heading right now, right? So this is heading 1, and we can just start typing in the different types of styles, and so on and so forth, right? So this is heading 3. Another thing to know is the different shortcuts. So for example, for heading 1, if I want to do H1, heading 1, I just do H1, and that starts up another heading, and so on and so forth with / H2, heading 2, H3 is heading 3, and so on and so forth, right? Now, if we can choose one of the things for a bullet list here, so we can do a bulleted list here, Or we can type in there's another shortcut where we can just do a dash or a minus symbol and space, and that'll start another list here, right? Same goes with numbered lists. We can just do 1 dot space, and that starts a numbered list. So there are a number of different block types you can choose from, and a number of shortcuts with different block types. My advice is to just go through these different basic blocks and see what they do, and see how much you can kind of format them as well. So let me just start from a blank page here. Let's change this to my video here. And we're going to start with an empty template, and let's paste in let's say our script for our next video. But another thing you can do is, let's say, do a checklist, a pre-show checklist. Let's say you're about to do a live show, so let's say you want to check out your camera settings. So I'm going to just type in the different things that you might do pre-show checks for, right? So let me type this out really quick. Okay, so we've done a basic checklist, and one of the beauties of Notion is I can turn what I have here, maybe minus the script here, into my own personal template. So every time I start a new video, I can pull up this template and have my pre-show checklist already built out. And then after that, I can just add more things into this checklist. But it's kind of nice thing is that you can use the built-in templates or create your custom templates. Let's get into organizing our data here. Now, there's different ways to do it. You could put, for example, the date in here. So today is September 8th, 2021. And then every new page, you can just organize it that way through the title. Now, a better way to do it is through databases. In Notion, database is a collection of data with different views. So we're going to create our first database, and we're going to do this as if I'm organizing all my YouTube videos here. So we're going to call this YouTube videos, or let's just call this our YouTube database. And we're going to create a simple database here. Now, a database is a collection of data, but in Notion, this database or collection of data can be viewed in these 6 different ways. And the most basic way that we can see a database is in a table view. So let's start with the table view, right? Now, you're always going to have the name of the entry, and this is kind of the required field here. Then you're presented with tags. You can take these out, or you can add in more columns. So I'm going to leave the tags in here, but just leave the default here, and we're going to see how we can use them. So I'm going to go through a basic database here. We're going to build this from scratch, and I'm going to do this in terms of my own personal videos that I've done on this channel. And so I'm going to reference some past videos. So please check out my other videos, especially as I list them on here as well. So I recently did one on my Epson ES200 scanner. One thing I did the other day is do a live show. So this was a live show. I did this on, let's say, September 6th live show. And so we can do some different references later on. I did a video on Tell Me a Joke. And this was my Google versus Alexa versus Siri on which one told the better jokes. Anyway, so in a database, all the different entries that you have in there do have some common traits or some common categories that you can label them as. So for example, these are broken down into live or recorded video, right? So let's create a new column here called type, and let's make that a select box. Now, in traditional databases and traditional applications for databases, a lot of times programmers want to know all the different possible fields in this type. Well, the nice thing about Notion is you can just kind of build out that selection as you go along. But for this type, I already know what I'm going to do. This is a video. This is a live stream. This was a video, and I can just choose it from there. But as I get more types, I'm not sure what other types I would want. Maybe shorts, maybe eventually some Facebook ones or TikTok. I can add the different types as I expand. So remember, my advice to you is just expand as you need to, right? If we are just left with this, then this is a good start to a database, right? This is one good way to organize it. But one key thing we're missing here is the date. So we want to know the release date here. And we can just kind of switch these columns around the way we want to. I'm going to hide that for now. And so now I can go in here and say, okay, when did I release that? I think that was on the 25th, probably. This was, of course, on Monday. And I believe this was the week before the 25th, after I got back from vacation. Okay, so we have a basic database here with 3 different entries, and we have different attributes that we want to do, right? So for tags are a type of multi-select. Here we have a select box and then multi-select, as it says in the name. We can do as many tags as we want. Gear, let's call this a review. Software, there was software involved in there. Okay, in the live stream, I talked about gear. So I already have gear there. So you can see, you can just start typing in the different tags as you need, as you expand. Don't think too much about all the different types of fields I need to do. You can start to think about it, but you don't have to get everything. You can expand as you go. And then I talk about subscribers, my channel, etc. Right? And tell me a joke is, home automation under that category, gear, services. Okay, so I'm just really building out these multi-tag selects, right? So this is one way to build it. Now, what is this a list of? This is just a list of different entries that I have. But remember, we want to, within these different entries, we want to be able to create a page. So we have our pre-show checklist. We have our script that we wanted to do. So we can just go here and go to the open, and it really just opens up a page for you. Has all the different attributes in that database that we've created. And here, down here, we can start typing in or start doing our different content for those different things. So for example, I have my script here, and now we can start doing our to-do checklist as well. So all the things that we learned in the first part applies here as well, right? Okay, we're going to go ahead and expand our database here with a few more entries first. So the other thing we're going to do is create another column called status. And at different points of my videos, I want to know where I am with that, right? So I'm going to make it a select box. So this one is completed. This one is completed as well. So all these ones are completed. And as I'm recording this getting started with Notion video, we can say this is in progress, right? Or I can say brainstorming with my iPad review video, and I can have another one called filming. So now these different fields will be important in our next section of this video. What we're going to do right now is create our own dashboard with using a list view, but more of a simplified list view than we have here, and a calendar view. Now, full disclaimer here, I really saw this video or saw this idea from a fellow YouTuber named Kat Mulvihill, and I'll link to her video in the description below. But she has very great videos on getting started with Notion and different things you can do with Notion. But here, let me just kind of replicate what she did here to kind of give you some more continuity and see if you could follow along as well. So here we're going to create a new page, which is going to be our YouTube video dashboard here. Okay. Now we want to make sure different things that this is full width. So instead of starting a new database or a new table, we've already created our YouTube database here, right? Full of all these entries here, and it's in its default state of a table view, right? But now what if we wanted to create a view of all these things in calendar view? we're going to create an inline linked table here. So we're going to bring up our basic block list and look for create linked database. And we're going to look for a database here called YouTube. And by default, it brings us into this list view like we had in our actual database, right? So I'm going to hide this. But what if we wanted to create a calendar view here? Now, again, not all the entries have a release date, so they won't show up in this calendar view, but let's start with a calendar view. Let's add a view. Let's call it calendar, of course. Choose our calendar. Let's create it. And now we have our calendar view of our Notion or our YouTube videos here. Now we can create, what if we want the list of videos that we have here? Let's do another linked database here. We're doing the same YouTube database. And now we have a list view of all our YouTube videos on top of the calendar view. Let's customize how this looks now. Let's try to make this side by side. So one of the things about Notion is the ability to move things around. So if I have a heading here, then I have another heading here. If I wanted to change the order of these things, I would grab these three, these 6 dotted things here, and you can move these elements anywhere around the page in any order. Another thing you can do is move it to the side here to make it a column view. See how that changed there? And now we have a side-by-side view or side-by-side column view of all these different elements. Now, unfortunately, as of this recording, you can't exactly do side-by-side layouts by default with different database views. I can change the order of this by dragging this on top of my calendar here, right? But unfortunately, there's no way for me to, by default, to point this to the side. There's no anchor point there, right? So, but there is a way to kind of hack this, right? I already have my heading 1 here and heading 2. Remember, I just drag this from here to the side, and that created a heading view, right? Or a heading column. What we can do is, let's take our database view here, and we could put it right under one of these columns. And now it creates a column with our list view in there. And let's do the same thing with the calendar and put it under heading 1. This is kind of a different workaround or a hack, but it does work very well. And let's say I want to make the calendar view a little bit bigger, so we can grab our sliders here and go back and forth on how much room we want, or adjust the size of our columns. And of course, I can delete actually these blocks now because I don't need them. But now I have my side-by-side column view here. And the last thing I'm going to show you is, now that we have our column view here of 2 different views of the same video or same database, I want to simplify actually this list view here, okay? So because this view only shows me all the videos with the date, I want to show all the uncompleted videos here. Just a list of what I have upcoming or things I need to complete. So obviously, I could probably filter all the things that do not have the completed status. Okay, that's one way. But I want to make sure that I have dates on all of them as well, because I could eventually in the future create a number of videos but not have a release date yet. So I kind of want to know what has not been completed or does not have a release date yet. So one of the things that we can do, and I'm just going to move this over a little bit here. Let me grab that so we can see more of that table. We'll work on this little interface later. And we can come up to here and start to do filters. And let's add a filter. We want to make sure the status is not completed. So that eliminated all the completed ones there, right? Also, we want to create something that does not have a date as well. And so let's add an additional filter. This is going to be an or release date is empty, right? So we have those two. Release date is empty or it's completed. In other words, it'll be off this list if the status is completed and it has a release date. Okay, so let's test this out. Let's say I'm going to unbox a new lens here. Let's say I've already completed that video, but it's still showing up here, right? So one of the things that we can do, and I'm going to bring this over here, is in order for me to give it a release date, I can go here already and just assign it a date. Or the other thing I can do is just drag and drop this into here, into the calendar view. So now this already had a completion date, but now it has a release date as well. So one thing I'm going to show you how this works is, let's say this is in progress. It should show back on our list now, right? Because it's not completed, but it does have a date. So it does show up in our calendar. So if I move this around, you can see the date update here. So that's kind of a nifty way to kind of visualize your data and also be able to edit kind of the attributes of that data, right? And then we can go ahead and go here and say completed. That takes it off our list. Now that we have it in the calendar here, maybe I don't need to see the release date here. So if we go into properties here, I can go ahead and hide the release date. Let's say I don't care about the tags or the types. And I just want to know the name of the video and of course the status of it. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to say completed, and it's off our list because I already gave it a date. Of course, as I'm creating these videos and I'm going through the writing process, the filming process, I can go ahead and open one of these entries. It'll take me right to that page. I can open up in a full view here and just start typing in my script here, right? So let's put in my lorem ipsum text. And then I still have all my different attributes here that I want to fill out. Yeah, it's a gear thing, it's a review thing, etc., etc. Maybe I can create an Apple tag there. And so it's a video. And then as I go along, I could put this, it's in progress, etc., etc., right? So this is one great way to kind of organize all your data here. So in this video, we've gone through a number of things, such as the basic Notion editor and how we can use the different block styles, such as a header, bullet list, dividers, etc., etc. Then we talked about how we can organize all these pages into one central place using databases. And in these databases, this database, we found out that we can expand into different categories, different columns, different fields, and really expand as our needs expand. And then we went over the different views in a database. And in Notion, there's up to 6 different views. So we use the calendar view and the list view. And there's an infinite number of ways to just customize it to your own needs here. In a future video, I'm going to go over even more advanced things with the database using relational databases, rollups, formulas. Relational databases really, it has 2 different databases talking to each other. So there's different ways you can really organize your data here. Now, if you're new to Notion, this may be a little bit overwhelming, but my advice to you is just start. Just start using it as a simple note-taking app, and then really get into more advanced organizations using databases. Databases shouldn't be something very intimidating, right? It's really just a way or a table of pages that you can easily organize. And later on, you'll be able to search very easily, right? So I would say just get into it and make it more complicated or expand on it as your needs expand as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, and consider subscribing. Until the next one, see ya.